of our school, John Moffat. And every day we're proud to say the name of our school, John Moffat.
Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 7 of the Moffat Tattletale Podcast. My name is Tomas.
And my name is Kira. Today we have a special guest. Sarah McAnulty works as a marine biologist and is known as the Squid Lady.
Welcome, Sarah McAnulty, and thank you for being a part of the Moffat Tattletale Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
To begin, can you tell our audience what a marine biologist is?
Sure. So a marine biologist is any scientist who studies the ocean. And there are so many different ways to be a marine biologist. You can be somebody who studies like huge patterns in the ocean, like algae traveling over miles and miles and miles. Or you can be someone who studies like something within just one animal, like maybe the brain function of a sea squirt, or like how jellyfish see, or anything like that. So if you are a scientist who studies life in the ocean, you're a marine biologist.
What was the start of your interest in marine biology?
I grew up in Bensalem, so just north of Philadelphia, and I would go to the library there with my mom all the time. And one day I was about 8 years old, and I took out this video back then, and they were VHS tapes on the ocean, and it was like a National Geographic kids tape all about the ocean. And about halfway through, they introduced an animal that I had never seen before, called the cuttlefish. Cuttlefish are a lot like squid, but they're ever so slightly different. They have this, they sort of look like footballs with like a fin all the way around the outside with little faces in the front. And they did this thing that's called passing cloud. Passing cloud is basically when they turn their bodies into like a hypnotist's wheel. Like it looks like black and white moving around. It looks really, really wild and cool. And I'd never seen an animal do anything like that before. It was like changing colors really fast. It was visually overwhelming. And I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I wanted to know more about that animal as quickly as possible and in as much depth as I could. And so I had been interested in dinosaurs before then. And then, I don't know, I just got hooked on cephalopods being octopus, cuttlefish, squid, and nautilus.
Did you have to study anything specific in college or university for your career?
Yes. So I was a marine science major. Marine science is like a big umbrella that includes marine biology, oceanography, like physical oceanography, which is like, tides, waves, like tsunamis, marine geology, like all different things about the ocean. And also marine biology falls under that too. So I took a bunch of classes about the ocean, everything from like, how can we take fish from the ocean to eat and keep it sustainable so that our great grandchildren can still enjoy the same things that we do. And also like, how do the genomes of animals work, everything like that. But you don't have to do that. There are so many ways that you can become a marine biologist. You can just study biology. You don't have to do marine anything as an undergraduate. And then after my undergraduate, I went and got a PhD. And that's when things got super specific. My PhD is actually in molecular and cell biology because I was looking at the molecular and cell biology of a squid. So I was working on squid. I was doing marine biology, but the type of marine biology I was doing was like very tiny little cells and that kind of thing. So that was hyper focused and hyper specific. And that I studied for about 6 years getting that PhD and then finished in 2019.
So how did you choose college that had a strong focus on marine biology?
That's a great question. I really didn't know what I was doing back when I was choosing a college. My parents didn't really know what they were doing either. So we winged it a bit, and I got really lucky and happened to have chosen Boston University. I knew that they had a marine science program. And looking back, I think I chose really well because they had a lot of like immersive classes, like typically like you have now in elementary school. You're taking multiple classes all at the same time. And so each of your classes is only like, an hour, 2 hours, something like that. And the way that they structured this program at Boston University is that you would be doing one super intense class at a time for some of the semesters. And so I'd be doing like only fish for like a 9 to 5 every day, more like a real job. And so I really, really loved that about it. It also allowed us to go like into the field. We would get on a boat and go out in the marine sanctuary off the coast of Boston, where there's like mola molas and humpback whales all over the place and all sorts of really, really cool stuff. And since we were doing just one at a time, it wouldn't like conflict with like my math class or whatever. So I really, really like that. But really, I just look for colleges that had marine biology programs. Not all of them do. I'm sure there's a better way to go about it than what I did, but what I did ended up working out, so it was okay.
Why did you choose marine biology over your other interests?
Ooh, I don't know. I didn't really have like I liked. Okay, the thing about marine biology is that you don't have to exclude many other scientific interests if you like the ocean, because so many things can be studied about the ocean. So like I knew that I liked squid, but then when I was in college, unfortunately, this is a real bummer. My mom got cancer and died. And so I started to get more interested in immunology, which is like how your immune system knows what's you and what's not you. So it knows like what to attack and get rid of. So like when you have a cold, it's like, hey, that virus is not me, I should attack that. And so I took an immunology class and I was like, man, this is really, really cool. I think immunology is interesting, but I don't think that squid is any less interesting. So I was like, I wonder if it's possible to bring these two interests together and study the immune system of squid. And so that's what I got my PhD in. I didn't have any like academic interests that were completely separate from being a squid biologist at the time, although now a lot of what I do is like art related. And so in my job now, a lot of what I'm doing is like communicating squid biology and other science through art. And so at the time, like during my PhD, I wasn't taking any art classes. Like none of my formal education has anything to do with art. And kind of in school, I felt like you kind of had to pick science or art. But looking back, really, I didn't have to. Like I could have kept like fostering my skill as an artist and my interest in art to collaborate with other artists. But I wasn't really doing that until I moved back to Philadelphia. And so, I'm fixing that now by getting super involved with local arts and that kind of thing.
Describe the difficulty, effort, and time it took to earn your degree.
Okay. Yeah. So the undergrad degree was like hard, but it took 4 years, which is like a very regular amount of time to finish your undergraduate degree. Some of the classes were hard, but what I found personally, and this isn't going to be true for everybody, is that if I really, really like what I'm learning, like I don't really mind working really hard at it. And I don't mind spending a lot of time and effort and energy on it. On the other hand, if I don't like it, like chemistry or calculus, I really hate chemistry and calculus. I think they're so boring and awful. And I got C's in those classes and I just hated every second of it. So that was not my highlight for sure. But I got through it to get to the cool stuff, because like other classes that I was taking that I was doing really well in, like immunology, for example, is considered like a really, really hard class. And I did pretty well in it because I thought it was cool. And so it didn't really feel like work when I found it to be really interesting. And so by the time I got to graduate school, everything was the cool stuff. There was no chemistry or calculus left. It was like the deeper you get into your education, the more specialized the education becomes, and the more it's like the thing that you got into it for. And so by the time grad school rolled around, I was like having a good time all the time because it was all in my like eyes, the cool stuff. Certainly PhDs are challenging. You need to be really independent and, work hard, be creative, get it done. It's a lot of work. It's hard, but like being hard isn't bad. Like a lot of times we consider hard things like bad, but hard things can be really fun. A lot of times challenging things can be really rewarding and fun and a good time, even if it's a challenge. Not being ever challenged can be kind of boring, and I think that that's not fun. And being challenged can be.
How long have you been working as a marine biologist, and where do you work?
Okay, so I started to be a marine biologist, let's see, in 2009. At the time, I was working in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. There's a lab there called the Marine Biological Laboratory, the MBL. They're like world famous for all kinds of stuff, but that doesn't matter. I didn't do anything world famous there. I was just working with cuttlefish and having a great time. And then let's see. So now my job is like kind of weird. I don't do things that are similar to a lot of what my colleagues do. So like people I went to school with and everything, they are often working at universities, working in labs, doing that kind of thing. I carved my own path and I'm doing something a little different. So like my job, I work for a nonprofit called Skype a Scientist. And what we do is like a lot of different things all at once. One of the things that we do is match scientists with classrooms, scout troops, libraries, like anybody who needs to or wants to talk to a scientist, will match you up with a scientist for free. And that's like a lot of what my day is now. It's not like directly squiddy. But then like last week I was in Japan and I was collecting squid from the wild in Japan, and I was flipping over rocks with my scuba tank on. I'm looking for squid eggs and cuttlefish eggs. So that's like also part of my job. And my job is like a lot of different things all at once. And it's also like putting art into Philadelphia that communicates squid biology. So like that can be stickers on a pole, that can be like a big squid on a wall, it can be a mural, it can be any number of things. And so some of my time is spent creating art that talks about science with other people. I don't work in a laboratory anymore. When I'm working directly with squid, it's out in the ocean. And then I'm sending those squid or squid parts or observations and data or whatever back to somebody who is still working in a lab.
When studying marine biology, how much work is done outdoors and in the waters as compared to a lab? As a marine biologist, are you in a lab or outdoors more?
Totally depends on the questions that you're asking and the type of scientist that you are. So there's ways to be a marine biologist where you are never in the ocean at all. And then other marine biologists are in the ocean all the time. I don't think anybody is exclusively in the ocean. Is that true? There's probably somebody. There's also like these jobs called marine observers. Those are people who like go on commercial fishing vessels, and they make sure that the things that are being caught are the things that the fisher people say are being caught. So in that case, you're never really in an office. You're always on a boat. So yeah, it's very, 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 very variable. And you can kind of like, when you're going through your training, you can kind of be like, I kind of like this balance where I'm like in the field, maybe like 4 weeks a year, and the rest of the time I'm in the lab. Maybe you are like, there's like 3 ways to be. There's like in the field, in the ocean, getting salty. And then there's in the lab, but like working with animals, and so you're still like pretty salty, right? You're like, your hands are in the tanks and you're playing with the animals and you're moving stuff around. And then there's like just computer. And particularly with like the increase in looking at animals' genomes, and also looking at like tracking data and that kind of thing. There's a lot of computer work that you can do and still absolutely be a marine biologist when you never get salty at all. That's not my favorite way to be. I like to be a little bit saltier. So whatever you like to do, you can probably find in that balance. But there's no one way to be a marine biologist.
What is your favorite thing to do outside of your job?
Play water polo.
What attracted you to the field of marine biology?
I just thought squid were the coolest things in the universe. I couldn't believe how cool they were. I thought they were fascinating and weird, and their behaviors were like fun to watch. And so I just wanted to know the most about squid and cuttlefish too. And so I was like, you know what? I don't know what being a marine biologist really is, but I know that I want to know more about these animals and I want to hang out with them and study them as much as I can. And marine biologist was that job. So I was like, all right, great. Guess I'll be a marine biologist.
How did you get the name the Squid Lady, and who gave it to you?
Good question. I didn't give it to myself for sure. My job is like part squid biology. And then a big part of it is communicating science with other people. I want people to feel like science could be for anybody. Like, even if you are not a scientist, you're never going to be a scientist in your day. Like, I still want you to feel like engaging with science is something that you're absolutely welcome and encouraged to do. And so back in 2018, I started this like program where I connect people with scientists in 2017. But in 2018, I started driving a squid mobile. So my car it's just like a car. There's nothing crazy about it. But then I painted squid all over it, and I have a squid facts hotline where people can text for a squid fact. And so I moved to Fishtown in late 2019, and then I started engaging more in street art. So street art is like very, very like healthy in Philadelphia. There's lots and lots of street art in our city compared to other cities, where people, without like asking permission from the government, will put art out in the neighborhood. Sometimes they do ask for permission and it's a mural. Sometimes they don't and it's like graffiti. But there's like many different ways to be graffiti, you know? Anyway, I started putting squid up in the city, specifically inviting people to ask for a squid fact. And if you texted this phone number, you got squid facts. So between the Squid Mobile and the Squid Facts Project, people there aren't any other like marine biologists doing this kind of thing in Philadelphia that I'm aware of. So people started calling me the Squid Lady because there are no other squid people in Fishtown that I'm aware of. And that's I think kind of where it came from. I didn't call myself that, but people started calling me it for very reasonable reasons.
Can you tell us about the smallest species of squid?
You bet. It is the pygmy squid. They're like smaller than my pinky fingernail. They're like itty bitty little squid. They live around Australia and Malaysia and Japan and sort of around there. So way the heck out in the Pacific Ocean. They are very small. They are pygmy squid, very cute. But they have like all sorts of cool things that they can do. They can secrete glue from their skin. So like we secrete sweat from our skin. Like when we're feeling hot, we make like salt water basically that we release from our skin. Instead of making sweat, they make glue. And so they're able to glue themselves to a piece of seaweed. They can like put a little, they usually are gluing themselves to seaweed, honestly, so that they can sit up in the water, not on the sand in the bottom, and like look around for something to eat without having to like actively swim. It's pretty cool. They also can shoot out little blobs of ink that they then hide behind when they want to grab food. So like if you've ever been hunting, I have never been hunting, but it may be, and you're all pretty young to go hunting, but when people go hunting, they'll often like hide and wait for like deer to come to them. And that's called a hunting blind. So they'll like sit basically in a tree house where the deer can't see them and then pop out and get the deer. In this case, the little squid make a blob of ink and then they like hide behind the ink. And then when the shrimp, that's what they love to eat. Shrimp is their favorite food. When the shrimp is like, boop-a-doop-a-doo, look at that cloud. I don't know what's going on. They'll pounce through the ink and grab them. So that's pretty cool. I love that. So yeah, pygmy squid, very cool.
What is the rarest type of squid, and how could we bring their numbers up?
Okay, so there are a lot of squid that live really deep in the ocean, and we don't really know how common they are because we're not spending enough time in the deep sea to like really know. So there's some squid that we've like literally only seen once. And does that mean that they're rare, or does that mean that we're not good at finding them? It's hard to say. We don't know. But generally speaking, for a lot of the deep sea squid, what we can do to protect what we don't know enough about is to prevent like hurting that environment. And so there are a lot of like people who want to mine the deep sea. There are like rare minerals down in the deep ocean, and they want to send machines down there to like pull up those rocks, basically. But if they do that, they're going to kick up a lot of dust that's gonna, I mean, this is like perfectly relevant for us today. Like the last couple days in Philadelphia, we weren't supposed to go outside. You are all at home right now and not at school because there's a lot of just stuff in the air that we can't breathe. We'd basically be doing that to the deep sea squid. So we'd be kicking up all of this stuff that's never been kicked up before, and putting it into their version of air, in their case, water. They breathe water instead of breathing air. And it would get in their lungs and really hurt them. And so we don't know what would happen if we do that. So not deep sea mining would be a great way to protect those squid.
So what are a few of your favorite squid pieces of trivia?
Squid have blue blood. Squid have donut-shaped brains. So squid are like shaped quite differently than us, right? Like they have their face, and then their arms come right out of their face. And so their mouth is like right between all of their arms. And their mouth is a beak, like a parrot beak. It's pretty cool. And so when they swallow, like their esophagus, which is like the tube that you swallow down, goes through the donut hole of their brain, which is so weird and cool. Like you imagine brain freeze when you've eaten ice cream too fast is bad. Like imagine what that would be like. That would be wild. Yeah, so those are some of my favorites for sure.
What advice would you give anybody who is interested in going into your field of work?
I would recommend like learning as much as you can about the thing that you love as early as possible. You don't have to be in school to learn stuff. Because often, like particularly when you're your age, there's things you're learning like the basics, like the stuff you got to know in elementary school. You got to learn how to like read, write, and do the basic stuff, math, etc. And you could be learning about elephants if that's what you like right now. You could be learning about rocks. You can be learning about whatever the heck you want. So in addition to doing the stuff that you have to do at school, you can go online and read books from experts and gain the knowledge that so you can kind of figure out what you love doing or don't love doing. Also, like follow people who do stuff that you want to do on social media. There are a lot of engineers, scientists, all sorts of people that are sharing what their jobs are like on social media. And so really early, you can get a view into what those lives could be like. So you get a sense of whether you like doing that thing or not.
You are currently working on a squid project in the Fishtown neighborhood. Will you share what you are doing?
Sure. Yeah. So right now I am, I put squid up all over the place all the time. Do I have any of those lying around right now? Probably. So there's like the standard squid, if you will. They look like this. Like this. So there are a bunch of these all over the place all the time. So I always have a couple of these ready to go. And whenever I'm running low, I just, paint some more. But I'm doing something a little bit different this summer that I hope that you all really like. It's a squid quiz. So, I've been here in Fishtown sharing squid facts for like 3 years now. And I want to know, what have you all learned from squid? So I'm starting a squid quiz. So you're going to see, in addition to like the classic squid that you've seen for years, you're going to see a little squid with a pencil and a little exam paper, and it's going to be on like poles and walls and stuff like that around the neighborhood. It has a little poem on it, and it says, "Many squid I have explained, but how much have you retained? Prove yourself with my squid test. I'll reward you for this quest. Limitless number of tries. Ace the squid, you'll get a prize. Text SQUIZ, SQUIZ, squid quiz, to the Squid Facts hotline, which is 1-833-SCI-TEXT, which is 1-833-724-8398 to begin. When you text it, it's a little squid test. Like you get asked 13 squid questions, and if you get to the end, I will give you the location and the code for this lockbox, which I'll put in the neighborhood out as well. And I won't show you what the prize looks like because I kind of want it to be a surprise. But when you get to the squid lockbox, there will of course be a squid on it, and then you pull this down and you put in the code, and then you open it up and you get a prize, a squid prize. And so the questions are a little hard, but if you get it wrong, if you get any question wrong, it tells you what the right answer is. And so you can try it again and like get that question right on the next try. So yeah, that's gonna go out probably sometime next week. So keep an eye out. I hope you enjoy it.
Where can some of our audience go and see some of your work or follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Mastodon. I think that's all of them. Basically anywhere at Sarah Mac Attack. That's SARAHMACK Attack. I'm all over the place sharing squid stuff all the time.
Thank you for being our guest today. We appreciate it. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
This concludes this episode of the Moffat Tattletale. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify at the Moffat Tattletale and our YouTube channel at John Moffat Elementary.
Great job.
We always try to do our best for Moffat School tops all the